Hello friends, I welcome you all to the third part of this series, Chest Physiotherapy Techniques. Today I will tell you about the remaining techniques. The first one is importance of early mobilization in the intensive care unit. Here early mobilization means what? We are focusing main on the early ambulation of the patient. The moment we start the early mobilization or the ambulation of the patient, many of the secondary complications like breakdown of the skin, pressure sores, many secondary complications can be minimized. And yes, even you can make the patient ambulate even when the patient is on the ventilator, but it depends on which condition, and you need to take the support from maybe one or two more people, and then you can make the patient ambulate. So let us see this. Critically ill patient, that means the patient who is in the ICU, they have a limited activity due to their diagnosis, equipment and conditions, and maybe they are with the many drips, drains and the IV lines, so their activity is very much limited, and maybe they are on sedation as well. So as a result of this limited activity, they can suffer from basically three things: deconditioning, muscle weakness and infections. Because infection can be ventilator associated pneumonia, where it can be hospital acquired infections. Okay, so that is very common in the intensive care unit. Now ICU based interventions, they play a good role in reducing the ongoing physical and the neuropsychological impairments in ICU survivors, both in short and long terms. So treatment which we give in the ICU, it plays a very good role, okay, for the patients outcome rehabilitation. So early mobilization in the ICU, basically it minimizes the loss of functional abilities and thereby it shortens the hospital stay. So if you give an effective chest physiotherapy, even it helps to reduce the stay of the patient in the ICU, and that enhances the recovery as well. So not only physically, okay, even to the certain extent financially also you are helping the patient. Now use of this program demands a collaborative effort among the members of the multidisciplinary team, because one person cannot make the patient ambulate, because you need a person to take care of their IV lines, drips, drains, ventilator, etc. So it is a collaborative effort. And the growing number of the patients treated in the ICU all over the world makes this non-pharmacological approach both welcome and interesting, because it is result oriented. And another thing is it enhances the recovery, so it is very much needed. The second approach commonly used in the ICU, that is the chest proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation technique. Basically here we used our hand and we give different approaches of the PNF to the patient. So it is externally applied proprioceptive and tactile stimulus that produces the reflex respiratory movement responses that appears to alter the rate and depth of breathing. So manually we apply the technique and we try to get the recovery in our patient. One of the very much result oriented approach in the intensive care unit. The third technique is your breathing retraining. Okay, that means learning the breathing control and to pace activities that are vital ingredients of any successful program. Re-educating or correcting the dysfunctional breathing pattern or the incorrect breathing pattern. So basically we are teaching the breathing pattern patient against, and there are four main techniques which we can give. Okay, that is your pursed lip breathing exercise, diaphragmatic breathing exercise, paced breathing with exercise, and the exhale with effort. Other important approaches, okay, that includes the first one, okay, that is your yoga, okay, that is also included. The second one is your hydrotherapy, which is said to be the first technique given by the Hippocrates and Galens, okay, in the physiotherapy. The third one is relaxation method, which includes your physical, psychological and combined approach. Physical, that includes your Laura Mitchell, Jacobson, Borkowitz, Poppins, Alexander, etc. method. Psychological is your goal directed visualization and visual imagery techniques, and both it includes your breathing exercise, your pranayama, etc. Okay, acupuncture is also been included as a approach. Okay, if you open the Jennifer Pryor and Prasad, the commonly used book for the chest physiotherapy, the first technique they would mention is acupuncture. I have not used this so far in my patient, and steam inhalation I have added. You must be surprised why it has been mentioned here, because commonly used domestically in the patients who is from India. Okay, here I would like to add one practical point to ponder, that is, many of the patients, rather than getting benefited from steam inhalation, I have seen they have been increased in their respiratory problems after taking the steam inhalation. And the reason behind that is the machine which they are using for the steam inhalation, it has not been properly cleaned. That means the machine was kept somewhere in the cupboard. They have taken out the machines, they have poured the water, and they have started using it. So there were dust particles which is actually going through the inhalational route, okay, into the respiratory tract. So it is a result oriented approach, but what they need to do is they need to clean the machine properly before they take the steam inhalation. And second thing, no need to add anything into the as a solution. Steam inhalation should be done only with the plain saline normal sterile water. No need to add anything into the water before you are using it. Now the instruments which can be used for the rehab, it includes flutter, high frequency chest wall oscillation, incentive spirometer, intermittent positive pressure breathing, insufflators and exsufflators, humidifier, nebulizer, vibrator, manual hyperinflation through the ambulatory manual rebreathing unit, that is through the AmbuBac, suctioning, and the inspiratory muzzle trainer, which some of the equipments I have shown you in the part 2. Now positive expiratory pressure, it provides back pressure within the airways during the expiration, so increasing the expiratory airflow, aiding into the movement of these secretions towards the oropharynx. Now what is the evidence says about the PAP? In the chronic bronchitis, it preserves the lung function from the rapid decline, and there is an improvement in the forced expiratory volume in 1 second. Number of acute exacerbation is less, and very important point is, okay, less use of antibiotics and mucolytics. This is the evidence nearly 25 or more years back. Okay, flutter. Okay, it is again a very commonly used device. Positive expiratory pressure, high frequency airway flow oscillations, modification of a mucus viscoelasticity is done. Pipe angle causes the ball to flutter back and forth at about in the range of 8 to 26 Hertz. And evidence says the use of it can lead to the significant improvement in the FEV1, FVC, FEF, 6-minute walk distance in the cystic fibrosis patient in the age group of 5 to 21 years. Okay, a long back study is done on it. RC Cornet is oscillatory positive expiratory pressure device. Remember, it is a position independent, and the evidence says that it reduces residual volume in COPD patient and less drop in the FVC, FEV1 in the COPD. Acapella, it is, and flutter, they have the similar operating performance characteristics in pressure, amplitudes, and frequency. Both is position independent, and very important to remember here is self-administered airway clearance techniques seems to offer more choice, independence, and convenience in performing this in the daily routine. So very important to remember this, and this has been documented in the Cochrane database. Very commonly used, which you find with most of the COPD patients and the post-operative cardiac patient, is incentive spirometer. Okay, it works on the principle of sustained maximal inspiration, and important point is patient will get visual feedback. That means a process of furnishing information about an individual or process to gain some voluntary control over it. So we can ask the patient to lift one ball, then second ball, and third ball, but the important point is the patient should able to hold the ball up for a few seconds, at least for 5 to 10 seconds. Now holding that ball will help to improve the collateral ventilation channels in our lung. That means your channels of Martin, channels of Lambert, and pores of Kohn. So very important, though it looks very simple but highly effective method. High frequency chest wall oscillation, it's like a jacket which the patient has to wear, and we set the parameters with the low pressure and frequencies and then increase to the prescribed pressure or frequency as per the recommendations and the patient's ability to tolerate the procedure. Each squeeze of this vest is said to increase the airflow and loosens the mucus and increase in the patient's cough bearing ability. Insufflators and exsufflators, it uses the positive pressure to deliver to the upper airway a maximum lung inhalation followed by an abrupt switch to the negative pressure. A rapid change in the pressure is aimed at stimulating the airflow changes that occur during the cough, thereby assisting the sputum clearance. Importance of patient education. Now, the effective health education is very precious to the health of society. What I have observed that most of the patient with the cardiac and the respiratory disease disorders and dysfunctions, they are highly anxious and they are much worried about their present problem because they don't know what exactly had happened. So proper educating the patient, it is also a role of a therapist, and that reduces that stress and anxiety. And the approach for each patient and their caregiver in the education should be different. I always say that the patient education should be in the language which the patient understands and not in the language which the patient knows. And always we have to go for the tailor-made approach. And always we have to know about the patient's concern first. So their immediate concern we have to address first. Always teach the patient how to be in a quiet and a relaxed during the treatment session, and always we have to keep the sessions short and repeat till the patient is performing up to the mark. It takes lots of efforts to teach the patient even the simple breathing exercise in a correct way. So we need to be very patient while giving the treatment. So I would like to thank all the people who have uploaded the images which I have used in this particular presentation. I would like to thank, and sincere gratitude I would like to extend. And in a conclusion, I would like to say there is availability of low cost airway clearance devices which can be used even in the Indian setup. So we can think of using some of the instruments for the rehab of the pulmonary patient. The second point is there are many tools and approaches, but the selection of the tools needs extensive knowledge for the good interpretation and the clinical correlation. So you have many tools available. Advanced airway clearance techniques has many advantages over the conventional approach, but it cannot replace the conventional approach. So you can always go with the combination of conventional approach and the recent advances. And we need to remember change is the only thing which is permanent in the life. So we need to accept some changes from the treatment point of view, and the treatment should be in the combination of the older approach and the newer approach. Most of us are reaping the fruits of the tree which has been planted by our seniors. So I personally believe that as long as there is an existence of human being on the earth, there will be a need of physiotherapy and the physiotherapist across the world.